Hey guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. So today I have a video for you guys that is near and dear to my heart. I've actually been working on this video for quite some time now, so I'm excited to finally go ahead and get it recorded and share it with you guys. So this video is going to be about the criminal justice system and my thoughts on it. So I definitely wanted to bring it to you guys, hear your comments, hear your thoughts on it. And we can have constructive adult discussion. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. So let's talk about it.
I think we should talk about it. Diving deep, let it go, so you want it. Talk about it. Gotta know that you want it. Talk about it. Diving deep, let it go, so you want it. Talk about it. Gotta know that you want it.
Alright, so you guys will see me look down and read from my laptop. We're just gonna keep it gully. We're gonna keep it gutter. We're not gonna make this some kind of pristine put together video. I'm gonna just talk to you guys like, you know, I would talk to my friend, because you guys are my tribe, you're my friend, you're my family, all that jazz. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So anyone who knows me knows that I love a good documentary. It's the equivalent for me of curling up with a good book. Partly because I'm a nerd, but you know, it is what it is. I just like what I like, and I love me a good documentary or a political drama, but documentary first. So recently I've been going through some issues with my mental health, as you guys know if you watch my day in the lives and all of that stuff, and I'm trying to kind of reset and get to a place where I'm good completely. I'm getting there. So excited about that. But there was a period of time where I kind of was just down and out, and I was just laying around and I was binging documentaries like crazy. So in my laying around, I watched so many documentaries, from Trial 4 to The State Against Melissa, and I've come to one conclusion: our criminal justice system is fucked. I watched quite a lot of documentaries, I think 18 to be exact. I've watched more since, but 18 in that time space, and I'm gonna list them on the screen and in the description box, so if you guys want to watch them you can feel free. But 13 of them that I watched were specifically about the criminal justice system and how people were getting railroaded, and you would not believe some of these stories. I'm going to talk about some of them, but not all of them, just the ones that stuck out in my mind. And also some of the documentaries that I'm talking about, I am going to leave out some of the facts, because I want you guys to be able to go ahead and watch them for yourselves and come to your own conclusion. This is just my particular thoughts on these documentaries and what's going on in the criminal justice system, so keep that in mind. So I'm just going to go ahead and read from what I have here. I may be starting off backwards in the law and order scheme, but I want to first talk about prosecutors, because this was the most eye-opening, and I wouldn't say surprising, but I think I was most disgusted by learning what I'm about to talk about. I learned that prosecutors are bullies. They are all about the win at all costs, even though they know in some cases that the people they are prosecuting are innocent. They will go as far as to move forward with cases with minimal to no evidence, going as far as to make some of these cases death penalty cases just for the win, then call it a win for the state or the community that they serve. This angered me a lot, because like, I get it. I get prosecutors are supposed to work for justice in the community, but I just, like I said before, I feel like it's all about the win with them, whether that person is innocent or semi-innocent. And when I say semi-innocent, I mean someone may have committed a crime and they are guilty of that crime, but then they will add all of these extra charges on top of them, some charges that are very similar to the other I know this personally. I've been affected by this personally. And add all of these trumped up charges on top of the charge that they already have, or the crime that they already committed. I think that's a travesty. If someone does or commits a crime, they should go to jail for that crime, or they should be judged by a community of their peers for that particular crime, not that crime and some other crime that you just added on so that you can ultimately add more years to their sentence. I think that is a travesty, and I think that is, to me, prosecutorial misconduct. That's just my personal opinion. I know technically by the law it's not, but to me it is. So let's go back to my notes because I want to go ahead and read this. So a great example of this is Beth Silverman. She's the prosecutor on the Juan Catalan case. Now, if you're not familiar with the Juan Catalan case, he was the subject of the documentary Long Shot. So he was accused of murdering a witness that was scheduled to testify in the trial, the trial charging his brother with murder. So basically his brother was charged with murder, and there was a witness that was supposed to testify in that case, and they basically said that the brother killed the witness so that his brother would get off, basically. The crazy thing about it is Juan was actually at a Dodgers game during the time of the murder, and the only reason the case was not tried was because an HBO show called Curb Your Enthusiasm. I don't know if you remember this show on HBO, but I think the guy's name is Larry David. He was the star of the show. They were filming at the time and caught him on video at the game, showing that he was not at the murder scene, pretty much. And what's crazy about it is even that did not get him off. So it helped the situation, but it didn't completely got him off, because they were trying to say that the Dodgers game ended at about 10 something, and he had enough time to basically go over to the victim's house and murder her. So there was enough time for him to do that. So what they ended up doing was basically getting cell phone records to show that his cell phone was pinging off of the tower that was closest to the Dodger Stadium. And those are the two things that basically got him off. This particular prosecutor she was just so adamant at the fact that this person was guilty. When Beth Silverman was asked about whether she thought he had a possible legitimate alibi at the time for the murder, you could hear the callousness in her voice. I gather because she was so very sure of herself, because she had never lost a case before, she was confident that she was going to be able to put away another black or brown body and get the conviction in another death penalty case, just another notch under her belt. And this bothers me because I think as a prosecutor, even though your job is to get justice for the community, serve the community, there should be, if there's an inkling that this person may be innocent, I think it also should be your duty to make sure that this person isn't going to jail for something that they possibly did not commit. I think that should be the rule of thumb. It's not, but I just don't understand how people sleep at night knowing that someone is in jail for a crime that they did not commit. Period. I just don't understand how you can operate that way. It drives me bonkers. But let's go ahead and move on. So this particular case boils my blood. It gets my gears going. And this is the Sean Ellis case. If you've seen this Netflix documentary, it's called Trial 4. And it's just another example of how society views our black men as nothing. They view our black men as just disgusting dogs in dirt. That is how society views our black men. And I know that because this is the only way that this particular thing could ever happen. And I'll go ahead and talk about that. So let's move on to the Sean Ellis case. This is a case I will talk about a lot through this video, again, because it boils my blood. Sean Ellis was convicted in the 1995 murder of Boston police detective John Mulligan. Ellis spent 22 years behind bars until a judge granted him a new trial. And side note, let's just talk about Boston. Okay, let's talk about Massachusetts. Let's talk about New England. Let's talk about that for a second. If Massachusetts, Boston, New England, whatever parts, Dorchester, whatever you want to call the different areas of Boston, that is one racist ass state. Okay, I know there are other racist ass states, but yo, if I was a black person, I would move out of Boston. That's how racist it is. It's mind-boggling that black people still live there. And I know sometimes when you're from a certain place, it's hard to get up and move, but Boston has a history, Massachusetts has a history of simply just not treating their black and brown Israelite sisters and brothers well. And if you even look at the ball players, the basketball players, and the football players that play there, they're even treated like dogs. They have things thrown at them. They're called niggers. They're called monkeys. They're called all kinds of names. And these are people that they love because they're winning. They're supposed to love, or quote unquote love or respect, because they're winning games for them, which is a totally different topic that I will cover maybe on another day. But yeah, Boston, Massachusetts, Dorchester, whatever other areas, New England and Boston, is racist. I said it. I meant it. I said what I said. But anyway, all right. In this case, many other prosecutors will know that a police officer is corrupt, and therefore the case that is put before them is tainted. So when we look at the Sean Ellis case, we see that ADA Phyllis Broker, she is the prosecutor that tried all, she's the prosecutor that tried three of his trials, if I'm not mistaken, 3. That's why the documentary is called Trial 4, because they tried him 3 times and were going for a 4th trial. Y'all. Anyway, listen. So she was the prosecutor on the case and was concerned about the 2 police officers, Kenneth Becerra and Walter Robinson. These are the 2 dirty, corrupt cops that were involved in this case. She was so concerned about their involvement in the case because they were known to be dirty officers, so much so that she requested that they do a statement under oath but still move forward with the case. Now, if you don't know, as an ADA or as a DA, asking a police officer to do a statement under oath is a slap in the face. It's basically saying, I don't trust you. I think you're a liar, and I think the work that you do on the streets as a police officer and as a detective is questionable. It is a slap in the face. So the fact that she asked them to do that should already tell you everything that you need to know about this case. She was later questioned in Sean's motion for a new trial hearing, and she said, and I quote, in reference to these officers, she had no use for him. I thought he was incompetent. I didn't want anybody incompetent anywhere near any of my cases. I had seen his incompetence in the past. If these statements are all correct, how could she possibly in good faith try to prosecute this young man? I don't understand it. In the same case, the prosecutor threatened Ellis's then girlfriend with removal of her child from her home by CPS if she did not testify in the case against Ellis, even though she was not involved in the crime at the time. Now, I want that to sit with you guys for a second. This young lady had nothing to do with the crime. They knew she didn't have anything to do with the crime. I'm not even going to tell you the full background to that. You have to watch a documentary. If you don't watch any of the documentaries that I list on the screen, you have to watch this one, because there's more to the backstory of the Sean Ellis's girlfriend that you will not believe unless you see it. But we live in a country that will threaten to take your child away from you, not because you're unfit, not because you beat them, not because you don't feed them, not because you are unable to take care of them, you're on drugs, but because you will not testify against someone in the court of law. In this case, this young lady had no link to the crime, but whether you choose to testify in a court case or not should have no bearing on whether your child is removed from your custody. Now, let's just play devil's advocate for a second. So you are linked to the case or not linked to the case, and you decide that you don't want to testify. The cops arrest you, right? In most cases, when a parent is unable to take care of a child or children, CPS doesn't necessarily take them away, or if they get involved, they will see if there is an available family member to take care of them. But these people threatened to take away her children. Well, I think she had 2 children, or maybe 1. They threatened to take away her children, remove them from the home, and of course put them in a group home or foster care, because that's what our system does with our children. Because she wouldn't testify in a case that she had no involvement in. If that is not one of the most miscarriages of justice, I don't know what it is. And just thinking about it right now just boils my blood. But let's go ahead and move along. And I guarantee this is happening in large to black and brown people than it is to whites. If this is not another slick tactic to destroy the black and brown household, I don't know what is. If you are in the truth, you already know that everything we have been taught is usually upside down or the other way around. What is supposed to be good is bad, and vice versa. As a society, we are taught that prosecutors are the good guys, but in fact they are not. They are there to help police officers destroy communities by prosecuting mostly young black males and putting them away for several years, if not for the rest of their natural lives. I argue that some defense attorneys are the good guys in these scenarios. At least they have the freedom to choose the cases that they try. The system is set up to fail at every single turn. Now, let's go ahead and talk about these police officers. So we're at this point very familiar with shootings of unarmed black and brown people in this country. People in their homes minding their own business, the Breonna Taylors and the Botham Johns, people sitting in their cars during routine stops complying with officers' requests, the Philando Castiles. Unfortunately, this has become somewhat normalized to us as a community. Normalized to us as a community. But today I want to focus on the corruption inside of these police departments that lead to the breakdown of our homes, of our communities, and the influx of mostly black and brown people. And I argue a good majority of them are innocent of some of the crimes that they are convicted of. And this is more so what I'm talking about when I was talking about how one person can commit one crime and they have all these trumped up charges to ultimately increase their sentence. Some of them are plain innocent, as you can see in a lot of these documentaries that I'm discussing, but some of them are not innocent and may have committed one particular crime and being put away for four or five different charges. Therefore, they're, instead of serving a 3 to 5 year sentence, they're in prison for 15 to 25 years. So from the Baltimore City Police Department to the Chicago Police Department to the Boston Police Department, LAPD, the list goes on and on, where we have seen officers plant drugs, engage in the very same criminal practices that they arrest people for: stealing, money laundering, and drug trafficking. Pointing again to the Sean Ellis case in the documentary Trial 4, former detectives Kenneth Teixeira, Walter Robinson, and John Brazil were involved in corruptions from tainted lineups, intimidating witnesses, demanding bribes, and falsifying search warrants. The key witness in this trial was also a family member of one of the detectives in this case. Coincidence? I think not. Like, when do you see a family member of a corrupt detective being the witness, the star witness at that, in the trial of someone they're trying to put away? When do you see that happen? I mean, it's just ridiculousness at this point. So there's a legal metaphor called the fruit of the poisonous tree, or fruit from the poisonous tree, which means if the source of the evidence or the evidence itself is tainted, then anything gained from it is tainted as well. So you would think that if a police organization has a history of corruption, that the subsequent arrests by that same organization will be tainted as well. It's like having you roll around in mud and then asking you to clean my house. No matter how hard you try, you would still get mud all over my kitchen. There also seems to be an issue with coercive techniques to get people to confess to crimes they did not commit. I point to the documentary The Confession Tapes. So in these cases, detectives take people they have no concrete evidence against and put them in an interrogation room, usually with no food and water, for several hours, extensive hours, and ask them the same questions over and over and over again. They use different tactics to get them to say what they want them to say. And that brings me to the documentary, The State Against Melissa. So if you're not familiar with this documentary or this case, Melissa Lucio was accused of physically abusing her daughter, Mariah, and subsequently causing her death. They interrogated her for 6 to 7 hours, and this is immediately after her child passes away. So it turns out in this case, it most likely was another one of Lucio's daughters that was causing the abuse to Mariah, the deceased child. Now, we can all say, how can you confess to a crime that you didn't commit? But I want you to imagine that all the cards are stacked against you in several ways. So you're poor. You've been abused in the past, so having two large men interrogate you for several hours, yelling at you in a very small, compact space, scares the shit out of you. It's actually called battered woman syndrome. Your child just passed away. You are physically and mentally exhausted, and you are having to make the choice between your freedom and your other's child freedom, even though you know that that child is guilty. I mean, what's the most likely outcome in that scenario? I mean, I don't think I need to tell you guys what it is. So we also see this in the Brendan Dassey case in the documentary Making a Murderer. So if you take a 16-year-old child with a low IQ and they get a lot of people to confess to crimes that they have not committed because they have low IQs, the child has a need to please others, which is a symptom of having a low IQ. And you keep saying things to them like, we know what happened. And using leading questions like, who burned the body? What do you think is the likely outcome to that? That is why there have been calls for reform when it comes to interrogation policies concerning vulnerable suspects, including youth. I definitely urge you to watch some of these documentaries, especially Trial 4 and Making a Murderer, and tell me what your conclusion is. Now, some of these documentaries focus on injustices of people who don't look like us, who don't share our nationality, who aren't in the truth, who aren't Israelites, right? But here's my take on it. It's important for me to make this video because if it's happening to them, it's happening to us tenfold. I could say to you with raised fists to say fight for justice, Black Lives Matter, march, protest, break some shit, but I'm not gonna do that because I honestly believe it's not gonna make a difference, right? We've been doing that for years. It hasn't made a difference yet. Here's the deal. When someone knows who you truly are and how special of a people you are, but they know that the majority of your people don't know who they are, it's like having a weapon of mass destruction for our community. They have a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, go through the whole entire alphabet, okay, to destroy us. That's why there's so many systems in place designed for us to not succeed. Kill them in the streets, get them in the court system, get them in jail, destruction of the Israelite family. Give the black woman all she needs to survive without the black man, turning a woman against her man. And the cycle continues. And some of us are so dense, I'm just gonna say it like that, straight out. Some of us are so dense and so stupid that we don't even friggin' see the shit happening. So telling you to go out and do the normal things that we have done for decades for social justice is just not gonna work. The only thing that will work is coming back to the law, statutes, and commandments. So let's just keep it funky. Accepting the truth of who you are as an Israelite, because that is their kryptonite. Knowing who you are is the system's kryptonite. When you know who you are, everything in the world changes, and you're actually in the fight instead of trying to bob and weave through the crowd to get in the fight. So I'm gonna leave y'all with that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure you check out those documentaries, just so you kind of have a reference and you can see for yourself the fuckery that's basically going on in our criminal justice system. I so appreciate you guys for the support. Thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. Thank you so much for being my tribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Shalawam.
I think we should talk about it. Dive in deep, let it go, see